Good evening, and welcome along to Rob and Elliott tonight. Good to have your company with us once again. Coming up on the show, we're talking about adult children still living at home with TV presenter and home expert Amanda Lamb.
They've gone from being your little children that you have to kind of do everything for to adults. And this is what I keep saying to my children, you know, when you're not living at home, I'm not going to be able to switch the washing machine on or make you dinner. You've got to sort of start learning how to do this for yourself.
We'll be chatting to former Miss Northern Ireland and artist Joanne Salley, and we'll find out why she's on a mission to get everybody a little bit more creative.
It's going to be a space for all ages, all abilities, to learn art of all disciplines, so drawing, painting, sculpture, printing, and maybe even photography. It would be an opportunity to exhibit the local artists. Linen Green could be well in the map.
Yes. One of Belfast's best known bands are back with a brand new album, and Terry Sharpe and Pat Gribben from The Adventures are going to be here in the studio with us.
When Cherry Red put the deal on the table and said, guys, what are you going to do? We signed it, and then we said, well, we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to put it over the line. So once there was something in focus and something that we had to do, we put our heads down. Because he'd written all the songs. I had been, so, you know, that's 10 songs in 35 years. It's not a bad.
We'll find out about this year's Spirit of Northern Ireland Awards and last year's Community Hero Award winner, Una Burns from Charlie's Bar in Enniskillen is going to be with us.
What I had unfortunately seen over the years were a family-run business, and I would have worked on Christmas Day in the bar with my family, and we would have seen people coming in on their own, but likewise we would see that friendly nature that Fermanagh people are known for, and that's what was depicted in the video.
And we'll have brand new music from the four of us. But let's begin the show, as always, by taking a look back at some of the more quirky news stories of the week. To help us do it this week, we're joined by broadcaster, journalist, podcaster Jane Hardy is here with us. Hello.
Oh, hello. Nice to be here.
Good to see you sitting in the hot seat for once.
In the absolute hot seat, yes.
Indeed, yeah.
So we're starting out, if I may,
yes,
with Alexa having a male voice.
Wow, no, I didn't know about
Alex.
this.
Now, in the States, there's a male voice known as Ziggy as well. But we have Alex. Now, Alex will do whatever you like, and I think that the females amongst our audience will be very pleased to hear this. I mean, what might you ask Alex, who has a light tenor voice, by the way, to do for you? You might say, put on the lasagna now. You might say, get me an ABBA track, or maybe a David Bowie track in the States, since he's called Ziggy.
Yeah.
And you might say, but we don't have the technology to this date, which is very sad, put the seat down.
Wouldn't that be a good one?
That would be a very good one, yes, it would.
It says to be top of your ladies' list of things that you would love to see happen, wouldn't it?
It would be one of the top, yes, it would. It would be right up there.
So can we get a male voice here, or is it only in America?
Yes,
we can.
We can certainly get a male voice here. You can tune in and turn him on and get him to do whatever you want.
Brilliant. Okay, what's up next then?
Right, up next is this story in Edinburgh about a sculpture of a well-known suffragette, Elsie Inglis, and she did a lot for maternity services for women and generally was a very good egg in suffragette terms. Now, they wanted a sculpture because they've got lots of sculptures of men in Edinburgh, if you've ever been, David Hume and all sorts of philosophers and so on and so forth. And they wanted somebody to sculpt this. Now, remember, this is a suffragette.
Yes, yeah.
They opened the call and then they closed the call and they suggested it was going to be a man, Alexander Stoddart. Shock, horror, sound of jaws dropping all over town. And it turns out that this guy is actually sculptor for King Charles. Now, whether strings were pulled, I'm not saying that at all.
Yes.
We don't know. But this is definitely in the oops category, I think.
Definitely, but was the sculpture any good? That's the question.
Well, I think we don't know yet, because I think this is still under debate, you know. basically.
Brilliant. Okay, one more. We're talking astronauts this time, aren't we?
We're talking astronauts, yes. And it's the splashdown of the Starliner.
Oh, right.
And of course, the story here is that the astronauts went up for a few days for a test ride, and they stayed up there 9 months.
Yeah.
Now, how did they survive? The thing is that astronauts or cosmonauts have, shed loads of degrees in science and other topics, but they also have a sense of humour. How do we know this? Because one, Ivan Wagner, a while ago on the International Space Station, Mir, actually welcomed some new colleagues coming by putting on an alien mask and dressing himself in pants and gloves and so on and so forth, which gave them a nice shock. It was a practical joke. And there's another astronaut, whose name I don't have, who said that he liked to jump out or float out from behind and unnerve his colleagues on the space station.
Wow, so they're having fun when they're up there.
They're having fun up there, apart from the rather boring meals of tablets and so on. That won't do it.
Exactly. So if the chance came up for you to go into space, because it will happen one day.
Well, you never know.
We'll probably be asked as journalists to go on a press trip to space one day, won't we?
Yes, we will.
Would you do it?
I suppose I would have to, because that view of the Earth that you see is so amazing, and everybody seems to have had a kind of almost a quasi-spiritual experience up there. But I think the claustrophobic nature of it all, and also maybe all these practical jokers around.
Exactly. Jane, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for asking me.
Right, time for some brand new music, and one of the best bands ever to come out of Northern Ireland are definitely the Four of Us. They're back with a brand new album and a brand new single as well called Crescent Nights, and as well as their new material, they've also just announced gigs at the Down Arts Centre in Downpatrick on the 3rd of May and the Empire here in Belfast on the 4th of May. So here's a title track from their new album. Here's the Four of Us and Crescent Nights.
I'm with this rag bag of ill-begotten friends and strangers, all praying we'll find a party in the Holy Land somewhere. We're on a chain gang, slaves to anyone who's willing to let us crash land into their pied-a-terre. A moon in the sky, turn a blind eye to what transpires here. How I held you tight under a cold street light, those crescent nights by your side. I'm gonna kick off the sawdust from the shoes I'm wearing. I caught the street name, but the number I don't have a clue. If we hear music, we'll know that we are on the right track. And it won't be long before the evening starts to feel brand new. A moon in the sky, turn a blind eye to what transpires here. How I held you tight under a cold street light.
Right, next up we're talking about adult children still living at home, and according to some new research, parent landlords are at breaking point as their adult kids live at home without lifting a finger. To talk about this further, I'm pleased to say that TV presenter, home expert and parent herself, Amanda Lamb, joins us now. How are you today?
I am really well. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So talk us through this new research then. Well, what's your thoughts?
This is such a juicy, emotive subject, isn't it? So this is some research that Latimer have carried out to kind of open up the conversation about how, if you have young adult children and they can't get their foot on the property ladder, so they're almost effectively being forced to live at home, how do you help them? What do you do? How do you equip them to move on? Because that's what I'm trying to do with mine. How do you equip them to move on? How do you equip them to become financially independent? Should you charge them rent? Should there be a kind of rota in terms of who does what? Do they do their own laundry? Because all of a sudden they've gone from being your little children that you have to kind of do everything for to adults. And this is what I keep saying to my children, when you're not living at home, I'm not going to be able to switch the washing machine on or make you dinner. You've got to sort of start learning how to do this for yourself.
And that's something you did. You left school at the age of 16 and went out to get a job.
I did. I left school at 16, mainly because of where I grew up. You weren't really encouraged to go to university or further education. It was just get out and get a job. My parents were struggling financially. And so I thought, right, I'll go and get a job and I'll bring a rent in. And I did. And I think I earned about, I don't know, 300 to £400 a month. And I gave my mum £50 a month, which back in the dark ages was a lot of money. But I think for me, my children, they're 11 and 16 at the moment. So, I'm not charging them rent yet. But I have said to both of them, if you are still at home and if you are earning a wage, I will be charging you rent. Oh, that's so unfair. That's the one. You can't do that. And it's like, well, technically I can. What I will do between me and you is that I'll squirrel it away in a high interest savings account and give it back to them when they leave home. But, I'm going to do it twofold. One, because I think I want them to become financially responsible.
Yeah.
Because I think when they do eventually fly the nest, they can't call the mortgage company up and go, I'm really sorry, can I pay you back next month because I went out this month and bought a new pair of shoes and they're really nice, do you want to see them? That's not going to work. So I want them to start learning how to budget and how to plan, because I think that is incredibly important. And obviously the next thing that I think a lot of parents are facing at the moment is just how you get rid of the little darlings, because rent is extortionate. So if you're trying to, as a young adult, and I really do feel for them, if you're trying to save up a deposit for a property and 80% of your wages are going on your rent, how on earth do you do it?
And even trying to find a rental at the moment is very difficult. I know here in Belfast there are very few around the city.
Yeah, exactly. So you are caught in this awful catch-22 situation, and you do end up more through, not through choice, but more through necessity of going back to the hotel mum and dad. Yeah. There are things to look at. Shared ownership is something that I think will become more and more popular. It's something that Latimer do and lots of other companies do. But I think that shared ownership is a really interesting idea, and I keep using this pie because it helps me get my head around it, and I hope it will get everybody else's heads around it. So if you imagine a piece of pie and you can't afford the whole pie, but what you could afford is maybe a quarter of the pie or half the pie. So you take out a mortgage for that quarter. The deposits are low, around 5,000. You quite often don't have to pay stamp duty because you're only paying stamp duty on that quarter of the pie that you own, and then as your wages increase or your lifestyle changes, you can buy a bit more of the pie, and then ultimately eventually you get the whole pie to yourself. That's the plan. It's a good idea. And I think for a lot of young people nowadays, like I say, for people that can't afford the sort of 20% deposits or 25% deposits, something like this is definitely worth doing. My sister did it. She lived in London for years, couldn't afford to get on the property ladder, so they did a shared ownership scheme, and then they moved out of London. And obviously because they were moving out, house prices were a lot cheaper than where and so she managed to buy a house without needing a scheme anymore. So it's definitely worth investigating.
Let's take you back to 16-year-old Amanda then. What was your first job?
Estate agent, you see. I've always loved it. I've always loved property. Yeah, I got taken on by a local estate agent right in the middle of the property boom, before the massive crash and recession. And I loved it. I've always loved homes and houses. And it's not just... I mean, I love the architecture of buildings and I love the kind of history of buildings. But for me, it's more about how a home makes you feel.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be a grand palace. Four walls, it's just that sanctuary, isn't it? It's that safety and it's that, and yeah, I love it.
And how did telly come about? Was that something you always wanted to do?
No, I fell into that one. So I was an estate agent for 6 years, and then I got discovered by a model agency. I was at the Clothes Show Live exhibition back in London in the day, and I started modelling. And then I think I'd done about 8 years of modelling, and I loved it, and it was great fun, and I flew all around the world, and it was all very glamorous. But then I got a bit bored of it, and the day that I decided to quit, for want of a better word, I got a phone call saying, there's a little known show, well, they're just starting, it's a pilot called A Place in the Sun for Channel 4, and they're looking for presenters with property experience. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. So I remember getting the job and them saying to me, it's 6 episodes. And I remember thinking, that'll do me till Christmas, and then I'll figure something out. And that was 25 years ago. In fact, it is, because I'm going back to do Place in the Sun, an exhibition with them in May, and it's their 25-year anniversary.
I can't believe it's 25 years old.
Yeah, apparently it's the second longest running program on Channel 4 other than Countdown.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's been lovely to be part of that legacy, actually. So yeah, all is good in the world. So I'm just like I say, I'm in the middle of mock GCSEs at the moment with the eldest. Man, they're hard.
And that's also a stressful time for families, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I think, going back to what we were just talking about with adult children living in a house, that's stressful, because you think as a parent, right, I've done it. I've kept you alive for this amount of time. Now go forth into the world and tell me all about it and send me a postcard.
So what's next for you then? Any exciting things that we should know about?
Oh, I've got all sorts of things coming up. I'm doing lots of stuff with Latimer. I'm off to do the Place in the Sun exhibition, which will be lovely. That'll be like a kind of reunion, because all of us are going to go there. All the, Jasmine will be there. And so that will be a really lovely one. And I haven't done that exhibition for a couple of years now, so I'm really looking forward to that. And lots of travel plans. I'm going to start doing a whole series on my Instagram about little hidden gems. When you want to go away somewhere and you're not quite sure where to go or what to do.
Yes.
That's going to be, I'm going to take the pressure off everyone, and I'm going to do a little Hidden Gems hotel series. So,
well, we were just back from Prague. It was our first time there, and I have to say it was an absolutely beautiful city.
Yeah. Do you know where else you need to go is Tallinn? If you like Prague, Tallinn is breathtaking and not as busy.
And somebody else mentioned that to me. Apparently there's lots of medieval stuff.
Krakow?
Yes.
Krakow in Poland is also stunning.
Well, that's our next trip sorted. Amanda, as always, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, my love. I'll see you soon.
Right, it's nearly that time of year again for the Spirit of Northern Ireland Awards. We recognise some of Northern Ireland's unsung heroes. In a couple of minutes, we'll be meeting last year's Community Hero Award winner, who was Una Burns from Charlie's Bar in Enniskillen. But before we do that, let's take a look back at last year's Spirit of Northern Ireland Awards.
A night like this is to celebrate the unsung heroes, those that have, given back or done good. I'm sure it'd be emotional but inspirational. That's my way of looking at it.
She is a keen advocate for Autism NI and uses her talents to perform for them and show the world that her condition will not hold her back.
It's really good to be different. Just if you've got any difficulties or anything, just my best word of advice: learn to live with it.
Okay, now Natalie, with a dress like that, when you get on that dance floor tonight, you'll be like a glitter ball in the middle of the room.
I wish I could dance at the moment. I've actually got an injury in my leg, so I'm very lucky just to be wearing these gold heels, but I'm sure everybody else will be dancing for everyone.
Blanid is extremely passionate about championing the role of young carers and wants to raise awareness around the challenges they face. She has spoken at the Youth Assembly and has been meeting with local MLAs to share her story, using her own family's morning routine to express just how full-on caring responsibilities can be.
I never really thought about it until I found out I was a young carer, because I just thought it was normal, but there's so many people who care for so many people and they're not really recognised, so not many people understand what to do, because my friends wouldn't understand like the extent of what I do, and I just wanted to help raise awareness of what young carers do and help get them support.
I'm absolutely looking forward to tonight because I'm dead proud to be here in Ireland, and yeah, absolutely, and also obviously the cause is fantastic. The Unsung Heroes of Ireland, amazing.
Even though Anne has technically entered retirement, her work continues with calls, lifts, meetings and providing other logistical support measures to anyone who needs her help. Anne was the president of Monterey Women's Institute Roe Allen in 2023 and used her year of presidency to advocate for the needs of victims of trafficking, asylum seekers and refugees.
Oh, some of these people come with nothing. And just it's very sad, you know. They've no families. They come here because in search of work or promise to work. And as soon as they arrive here, they're either sold or their passports and documents have been removed. And it's a very sad situation.
So many people owe their lives to Mama Anna and the work she has done to lift the lid on trafficking and exploitation.
Last year, so we couldn't wait to get back again. And we left London, it was pouring with rain, and we've got the most glorious sunshine now. So
just for you, Linda, we made it happen for you. Now,
the sunshine everywhere I go.
Exactly. Now, we know it's a very special night, but it's also a very emotional night as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's like the Pride of Britain, only it's the Pride of Belfast, isn't it? So, yes, and always an amazing night. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Biggins, any excuse to get to Belfast? You're always here.
I love Belfast, and it was thrilling to come back again this year, and we've already booked for next year.
Una has been the driving force behind this. We don't yet know what Charlie's Bar is planning for this Christmas, but we do know that with Una involved, it's bound to be something special.
The amount of phone calls and letters and postcards and people coming through our doors, particularly at Christmas time, but even now in June, we're still finding people coming in, either visiting and this being their sole reason to come in here because of the Christmas ad or making it part of their stay. But I think what's lovely is the message that it created and the I suppose, conversation that came out of that, and I suppose that's what I'm so thankful of.
The two sisters have undoubtedly saved countless lives, and while they aren't cycling themselves this year, they are very much pedalling behind the scenes and helping pedal the periphery grow from strength to strength. They have created a long-lasting legacy from their love of sport and turned a tragedy into something positive, which will ensure families facing a similar diagnosis have the support network they need.
Legacy of Paddy always, you know, he lived with the motto, I'm not living with cancer, cancer is living with me, and I'm going to take it for a ride. And the fact that that ride is continuing after his death is what more legacy could you have, you know? The awareness and the funds that have come from this has propelled NIPANC to a totally different level. And we couldn't be more proud, but also at the same time more emotional about it.
Well, I'm sort of living here mostly now, but I was on the judging committee this year, so it was a bit different, and it was just such a privilege to kind of like delve into all these extraordinary stories that are being made by extraordinary people, and it's a credit to Martin Breen and Sunday Life that they do this every year. It's wonderful.
It's what you wanna be. So don't be someone else when you be the best so easily. If you try, if you need my baby, you'll succeed.
And as always, we're looking forward to this year's Spirit of Northern Ireland Awards, which take place at the Culloden Hotel on the 20th of June. We're going to chat to last year's Community Hero winner in just a second, but here's a famous advert that went viral when it was first released in Christmas 2023. It's from Charlie's Bar in Enniskillen. I'm sure you've seen it, but here it is anyway.
God knows what is hiding in those weak and drunken hearts. Guess he kissed the girls and made them cry, those hard-faced queens of misadventure. God knows what is hiding in those weak and sunken lines, fiery thrones of muted angels, giving love but getting nothing back. Oh, people, help the people, and if you're homesick, give me your hand and I'll hold it. Help the people, nothing will drag you down. Oh, and if I had to bring, oh, and if I had to bring, I'd be cold as a stone, rich as a fool. It turned all those good hearts away.
So there we go, that was the viral video from Charlie's Bar in Enniskillen. Of course, everybody watched that video when it first came out. And of course, last year at the Spirit of Northern Ireland Awards, Una Burns from Charlie's Bar was the winner of the Community Hero Award. And I'm pleased to say she joins us now in the studio. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks for having me.
You've come all the way from Enniskillen to be with us today.
A day out, I'm delighted. Might say and do a bit of shopping.
Tell us about that video, because people are still talking about that video to this date, aren't they?
Yeah, and we've had people in, even recently, Italians in actually because of it. He had the newspaper from 2023 with him in Italian.
Wow.
The reaction was just incredible, but I suppose for me it was more the conversation that came out as a result of it, which we could never have hoped for, and that was around loneliness and you know how it can be a very difficult time for some people, even though it can be a very happy time for others.
So whose idea was the video then in the beginning?
It was my idea, but it's funny because it wasn't anything groundbreaking. It was just what I had unfortunately seen over the years. We're a family-run business, and I would have worked on Christmas Day in the bar with my family, and we would have seen people coming in on their own. But likewise, we would see that friendly nature that Fermanagh people are known for, and that's what was depicted in the video.
But the way this thing took off so quickly, you probably never imagined that was going to happen.
No, absolutely not. The reaction, and even still, as I said, to this day, people are coming in and speaking about it, and it's incredible for a small little family-run business in Enniskillen. The reaction and how it reached far and wide was amazing.
And you've gone on to raise money for AGNI as well, haven't you?
Yeah, so because of the viral attention, it was important for me to try and harness that. So on the back of the advert, we launched a GoFundMe campaign and a merchandise line, and that was in collaboration with Digital 24 and a local Northern Ireland based company, Ted and Stitch. And in the month of December we raised 23,000 for AGNI and Southwest Age Partnership. So it was just incredible, particularly in December, which, as you know, is such an expensive month anyway. But it was important for me that money was spent locally. So obviously AGNI is based in Northern Ireland, but SWAP is based, and all of that money went towards initiatives in Fermanagh and the Omagh district area.
Brilliant. So are you still doing these things? Is there going to be another video this Christmas? What's the plans?
Well, we did release one last Christmas, and yeah, the plan hopefully will be to carry it on. You know, we're not expecting the reaction that it got, obviously in 2023, but you know, it's great to be able to release something that has an important message for people. And you know, even the initiatives that were ran as a result of the money that was raised. Like I was invited to the end of Positive Aging Month, and they had the dementia singing choir there, and our money that was used for that, because it had been cut in December because they had a lack of funding, they couldn't pay the choir instructor, and how it worked, and it was really quite touching. One of our customers had actually developed dementia since the release of that advert, and he was in the singing choir when I went down. So yeah, you just don't know, it came full circle, but it's lovely to be able to support initiatives like that.
And then along came the Spirit of Northern Ireland Awards, and you ended up winning the Community Hero Award.
Yeah, and that was just incredible. I still remember the day I got the phone call, and I was in work at the time. And the first thing I thought is, I've seen that on TV, I know those awards. But the night was just so special. You know, hearing the stories of what people have done locally, they really are the unsung heroes of Northern Ireland, and made me so proud to be from Northern Ireland and working here, you know, just to hear what people are doing and just behind closed doors. It's incredible.
And it is, I mean, it's a very special night, and we hear so many amazing stories on the night. We see so many stars appearing at this award ceremony as well. It was like spot who's who, wasn't it?
I know. I have a selfie with James Nesbitt, so that was definitely a positive that I didn't expect. But I suppose that even further highlights the prestige and the high regard that the awards are held in, that these people like James Martin, who are so busy, an Oscar award winner, you know, made the time to be there on the night.
Exactly. So this year's awards are taking place on the 20th of June, Friday the 20th of June, at the Culloden Estate and Spa. Nominations are open now, so people want to get nominating who they think should win an award this year's Spirit of Northern Ireland Awards. You can nominate at Spirit of NI Awards at sundaylife.co.uk and just tell them the person or the group that deserves to win an award this year. And the closing date for nominations is the 4th of May. So get nominating. There's plenty of categories to nominate from. Some of them are appearing on your screen right now. And of course, there is the Community Hero Award, which Una won last year. And what a great night it was. Thank you so much for coming in. And let's hope we see another great video this Christmas from you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Now let's do our What's On guide. Let's see what's happening throughout Belfast and beyond over the next week or so. We're starting off at the Grand Opera House here in Belfast, and a play that's been described by audiences as the finest, funniest and most heartbreaking piece of theatre they've ever seen. From London's West End, where every performance received a huge standing ovation, Myra's Story quickly sold out 3 nights at the Grand Opera House last year. And this is the incredible story of a middle-aged, homeless alcoholic, Myra McLaughlin, living rough on the streets of Dublin. This is a must-see show, and you can catch Myra's Story at the Grand Opera House from the 1st until the 5th of April. One of the nation's most loved comedians, Paddy McGuinness, is bringing his all-new stand-up tour to the Ulster Hall here in Belfast on the 3rd of April. And staying with the 3rd of April, we're off to Derry to the Millennium Forum, and Damien Dempsey returns following the release of his first album in 7 years, Hold Your Joy. Catch Damien Dempsey for a great evening of music on the 3rd of April at the Millennium Forum. And staying with some great singer-songwriters, it's always great to see Kieran Goss back out on the road. And Kieran Goss has long been considered one of Ireland's leading singer-songwriters. His recent collaboration with Annie Kinsella was a joint debut album called Oh the Starlings. And that album and tour has gone down well throughout Europe. And it's great to see Kieran Goss back home in Northern Ireland. You can catch him on Saturday, the 29th of March in Ballachy at the Seamus Heaney Home Place, and on Sunday, the 30th of March at the Alley Theatre in Strabane. And finally for now, if you want to catch a movie in cinemas this weekend, Jason Statham is back in A Working Man, and Levon Cade left behind a decorated military career in the Black Ops to live a simple life of working construction. However, when human traffickers kidnap his boss's daughter, his search to bring her home uncovers a world of corruption far greater than he could ever have imagined. Here's a clip from A Working Man.
You a cop? You wish I was a cop.
Yo, these guys are next level.
Look at those bricks. You ain't a cop. You're a working man. That's right. Let's play.
Everybody look what's going down.
This isn't just some kidnapping. This is human trafficking. Remember Gunny?
Your blind ward buddy that doesn't know he's blind?
That's the one.
If you shot a foot to the left, I'll be dead.
I wanted you dead, you'd be dead.
Right, let's get another guest on the show now. This time round, we're on a mission to get everybody being creative. And I'm pleased to say Joanne Salley joins us in the studio to tell us about her latest project. Joanne, good to see you.
Lovely to see you, Robin.
Last time I saw you was 1998.
And I was thinking you weren't born then.
You were Miss Northern Ireland in 98.
I was indeed, I know, and it seems like a different life. You know, it's a long time ago. It was a great year, and I took the year out of university. I don't do anything by half measures.
Yeah.
So it was coinciding with my final degree year. And I decided, well, Miss Northern Ireland seems like an opportunity. And, you know, it was a role that I took seriously. And then I wanted to do well at art college. So I went back then the following year to finish my degree. So one day I was in kind of the 6-inch heels, short skirts, parading around, blonde hair, and then the next day I was back in my DM boots, torn jeans, and, you know, grease on my hands.
Yeah, wow. So you studied art, and you're still doing art today, and you were away for a long time. You're back. I know you've had one hell of a journey to get here today, haven't you? You've been travelling all over England the last 24 hours.
That's right. Well, I'm starting, it's going to be, I mean, I keep calling it a school.
And this is Molly, isn't it?
This is Molly, and Molly's now getting fed up. She's like, right, I need to go home now. You have to lie down another little bit. So it's going to be a space for all ages, all abilities, to learn art of all disciplines, so drawing, painting, sculpture, printing, and maybe even photography. And then, as well as that, I'd like to have an exhibition of my own work every month.
Right.
Because I've been doing a lot of my own work in the last kind of 2 decades.
Yeah.
And also it would be an opportunity to exhibit the local artists or the Irish artists.
Yeah.
And perhaps then as well the participants of the courses, so that they can showcase their work. And maybe down the line I could do a schools competition or something like a summer exhibition that they would have at the Royal Academy.
Oh wow.
So you know, Linen Green could be well in the map.
Yes. So tell us about the Linen Green then, because it's somewhere that I wasn't aware of, but we were talking about it off the air, and it sounds like an amazing location.
It's fantastic. You just come off the motorway at Dungannon, and in 2 minutes' time you're there. It's an old linen factory that has been turned into lots of units, mostly shops. There's a great coffee shop, there's also a restaurant, and it's a destination. I've been setting up now for the last 6 weeks, and every single day I've been down, there hasn't been a car park free.
Right, yes.
So, and it's a very popular place for all ages again, and I mean sometimes there's even buses come.
Right.
So it's really a good spot. It's a little bit of a retail kind of hub, probably like something you've been to, Kildare Village or Bista Village over in England, on a smaller scale. But what it is very beautiful.
Yeah.
And then right beside there, Molly Moo, there's Dungannon Park, so you could go for a walk.
Right.
And it actually, the entrance to Dungannon Park is from the Linen Green. So park your car for free, and have a browse at the shops, and then go for a good walk.
So who do you want to get involved in these art classes and things then?
I would like all ages, all abilities. I would like a real mix of you know, children coming together with older people, and really it's about bringing the community together again. I feel with lockdown we lost the sense of community, and right, I'm just going to let you go, Molly.
She can have a wander.
I am totally inseparable from Molly. She kind of comes everywhere with me now. And I couldn't really leave her in the car today because it was so warm outside.
Exactly, yes,
so,
she's gone exploring.
Yeah,
that's all right.
She might just sit up on top of your sofa.
She'll be all right, she'll be all right. So when it comes to things like lockdown, I mean, that was a chance for a lot of people did get creative and discover they had artistic talents and things, didn't they?
That's right, yeah. There were a lot of people doing sort of online courses, and it was actually that spurred my business idea. I was working with a great videographer, and he was going to film, and I was really doing art lessons for online. And then with the online lessons, we were doing an art pack. So it would make it very convenient. Someone would order their pack online and then be instructed on how to do it. And unfortunately, my videographer was very popular, and he got great jobs that took him away from our business idea. Sadly, my mummy took sick and things had to be put on pause.
Yeah.
So that was in 2020. Now we're 2025 and I feel like I'm running a marathon every day to get this done. So it's good that it's happening again, and I feel very motivated and I've got great ideas, so hopefully they'll all come together.
And what about your own artwork? Because I imagine you're going to have exhibitions of your own stuff in there as well. So what kind of things inspire you then?
I drew a series of trees that have been struck by lightning. I feel in everyone's life we are struck by lightning, symbolically. So the drawings were very tight pen and ink drawings. I was living in the Cotswolds at the time, and I kept going to this tree on a walk and drawing it in a sketch pad, and it was very small, kind of A5 sketch pad. And it never gave me a feeling of satisfaction. So one day I was doing a job, it was a modelling job, and there were rolls of paper in the corner, and I said to the photographer, do you mind if I take one of those rolls? She said, no, we usually donate those to schools. So I went to the tree with the roll of paper on my shoulder, and I put the roll of paper down, and I was on my hands and knees drawing this tree with charcoal. And what actually was quite interesting was I was using charcoal, which is the bark of trees burnt slowly. So it was almost like I was using part of the tree to draw the tree. Yeah. And after I'd done it, I was exhausted and I was covered in mud. The mud had seeped through the page, but it felt great. Yeah. And that then spurred on a series of those. So I was doing these huge drawings, and I'd like to have an exhibition of those. The space that I have lends itself to them being horizontal, and then some of my other drawings. And I would actually quite like to get a tree in this space as well.
Yeah, wow.
So that's one exhibition. Yeah. And then the other, I've always fascinated by people. And I've been drawing a series of small faces because I've been quite transient, and my sketchbook is about the size of a little box. Right. And the drawings are the size of a business card. And it's called The Sad, the Mad, and the Sad, the Mad, and the Bad. Right. And they're all similar in that they're not smiling. Right. And so I've done a lot of these. I think I've about 1,000 of these at the moment. And then the larger works are actually kind of an average size man with an average size woman. So 5'6" by kind of 6 foot tall canvases. And those are quite big, moody blue faces. Again, they're very sinister. They wouldn't be easy to live with. But all my work has always focused around what is behind the facade. Mm-hmm. So I'm painting the soul. And what sort of intrigues me is that particularly when I was Miss Northern Ireland, I found the real essence of beauty and what that meant, because I was very much perceived by the facade. Yeah. And then I went back to do my final year degree show, and it was all about beauty is beyond appearance. So that kind of genre of work has led me to where I am even now in what I'm doing. Even today, is there still a place for Miss Northern Ireland contests? I mean, there's a place for everything, and I feel times change. You know, we're no longer burning fields for crops. Yeah. You know, everything changes. So I feel as long as things evolve with the time, there's a place for it. And what concerns me most is that the generations that we're moving into are lacking in conversation. There's that sort of, you're training your brain for the 3-second swipe. Yeah. A lot of images are filtered and not real. So that is where, you know, if Miss Northern Ireland kind of were to address those issues, then it'd be a very positive thing. If the Miss Northern Ireland kind of goes with that, then I would worry, you know, because it shouldn't be about image. It should be about your personality. It should be about much more than that. Yeah. And I mean, I've lost touch completely. I couldn't tell you the last, you know, run of girls. Once I left in '99 to go to England, it was something I just left behind. Yes, yeah. And I still modelled, but it was very much kind of commercial And modelling in London is very different than over here.
Yes, yeah.
Much more competitive, actually.
Exactly.
But better paid.
Yeah, of course. Right, well, if people want to get in touch with you, if they want to come down and see you at the Linen Fields, how do they do that then?
Yep. So my Instagram is actually Let Start with Art. And, you know, somebody who is never really on their phone, I think I always say I have a very good relationship with my phone because I don't have a relationship with it at all.
Right.
And I would leave it parked and sometimes forget for a whole day to look at it. So now I am becoming much more aware that I do need to use social media. Something that I didn't realise, Northern Ireland, people tend to use Facebook rather than Instagram, whereas I've been kind of used to Instagram over in London. So I do have an Instagram account, and I'm actually enjoying posting the journey at the moment. Mm-hmm. So for instance, I condensed my 24 hours into 3 minutes this morning for a post, and I think it's good to use it as a tool to be able to inspire. So hopefully the lessons I'll be conducting, I'll be putting on Instagram, and it might then generate more creativity throughout Northern Ireland or the world.
Let's hope so. Joanne, the best of luck with the new project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming in.
A
Good
pleasure.
to see you.
Lovely to see you,
Thank
Robin.
you. Right, time for some more brand new music. And my next guests have been described as probably the most famous band ever to come out of Northern Ireland that you've probably never heard of. I found that online somewhere earlier on today. We're talking about The Adventures. Pat and Terry are going to join us in the studio in just a second, but let's play a new single from their new album. Here's The Adventures, and this is called My Imaginary Girlfriend.
My imaginary girlfriend. My imaginary girlfriend. She must be somewhere out there in the universe. Or could be right next door, but I guess we'll never know. I push the button spinning on my gaming chair. My imagination will never let her go. It's a lonely world we're living. I am on the line looking for you.
Okay, there we go. Brand new music from The Adventures. That's called My Imaginary Girlfriend, and it's on this, their brand new album, which is called Once More With Feeling. And Terry Sharpe and Pat Gribben from The Adventures are with us in the studio. Guys, welcome. Terry, how long has it been since the last album?
About 1990, was it?
Around
So
about
you're
then,
talking
yeah.
about, we don't like to rush things, Robin.
No, you don't, no.
You want to make sure you get it right, you know. So, no, but between one thing and another, we came back to, we were living in London the last time we made our album. And we eventually moved back to here. And the kind of real life sort of catches up with you, you know. So it's taken so long for us to get round to making this. What happened was when Cherry Red put the deal on the table and said, guys, what are you going to do? We signed it, and then we said, well, we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to put it over the line. So once there was something in focus and something that we had to do, we put our heads down. Because he'd written all the songs. You know, had been sort of, you know, that's 10 songs in 35 years. It's not a bad.
So My Imaginary Girlfriend then, the new single, whose imaginary girlfriend? Yours, obviously, Terry.
It's a fictitious tale.
Yes.
About one of these keyboard warriors who doesn't like life itself, doesn't like existential life, and who lives it all in this little fantasy in his bedroom.
Right.
And that's all I'm going to reveal, folks.
Okay.
You know, so, but it's kind of just a modern classic.
And it sounds great, and it sounds like an adventurous record. So what's the rest of the album like, Pat? What's the other songs on it?
I think quite a lot of the same. I think there are a few moments on this record that are classic adventures, and then probably a few surprises as well.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with that. There's one song we did called With the Cats, and I was thinking about this the other day. The last section, from like the breakdown out, everything that we've ever been about is in that last minute of that song.
Right.
I believe, I don't know if Terry would agree with me, that just everything that you could want to happen seems to happen just from there out.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about the other day, like we really nailed that, you know.
Yeah. Brilliant. Something I always want to ask you guys, why are you guys not global superstars?
Well, we are. No, I am, in my own mind. Listen,
Who do you think you're talking to?
There are certain things that you can't control. I mean, we think we made a great record this time, but we thought our first album was great. You know, you can't judge the public and their taste, and there's other things that come into play as well, like bringing a record out at the wrong time, and maybe the record label that we had it out on at the time weren't pushing it in the right way. There's all kinds of little tiny opportunities that you can miss or get that can push you up there.
But you guys were signed at one stage by Simon Fuller. This is the guy behind the Spice Girls.
We were the first band he ever managed.
Yeah.
The very first band. He had us, and he also managed Paul Hardcastle.
Wow.
19.
Yes, yeah.
That's why his company is called 19, because the first single the first record he ever released as a manager went to #1 in 22 countries.
Yeah.
So he became a player overnight. Now, we were his first band that he signed. He actually signed us to Chrysalis Publishing. He signed us to Chrysalis Records and then became our manager. But I think every mistake Simon Fuller ever made, he learned from at our expense.
Yeah.
Because I think forever after he knew the game a lot better.
Yes, yeah.
And he had a lot more profile. He had a lot more clout.
Yeah.
In subsequent years, Simon was great in many ways, but again, it's timing. Had he got hold of us a couple of years later, the whole game would have been different.
Exactly.
But there you go.
But a song like Broken Land, I mean, a classic. It's still getting airplay. It's still played around the world today.
And
did you know at the time that song would still be as massive?
I remember we'd been out all night at another studio trying
When was that?
No, trying to get the album.
You've been out all night. Was that last night?
No. We'd been out. We were trying to get that album finished, and we were running out of time. Myself, Terry, and Eileen, and I can't remember who else, were taken down to another studio. And when we came back, our drummer and the mix guy, Jim Scott, had spent the whole night mixing it, and we came in the morning. We hadn't slept ourselves. We'd been recording at another studio, and I remember when I heard it, I thought, they've done something a bit special with this, And it's been around ever since. It seems to have a new. I think it gets a kick of life because the way the world goes, there's always something broken, and it just seems to become appropriate.
It could be an anthem for what's going on in the minute, couldn't it? Really,
it's a good tune as well. So it lasts. But I was just going to backtrack a wee bit. See about this album. I think I remember saying to Eileen, we were talking about sort of backing vocals and the kind of sound we wanted to get. And I remember we were saying that we don't want to apologise for what we were. Just let's give the people, like some big choruses, and big tunes, So it's not full of all that, of course, but it's just we as we were going into it, we thought, well, let's just be ourselves, be the adventurers.
I think you have to satisfy yourself first.
Yes.
And you hope people like it.
Yeah. Are you going to go back out on the road to tour it, or what's the plans?
That's all to do with cost. If this record raises our profile enough, then all of that becomes more, more possible.
Yeah.
One guy's on the back of the single, a guy called Jez Damsel from Taunton, got in touch a few days ago and asked us would we come and play at his club there.
Yeah.
He puts gigs on there.
Brilliant.
He's had China Crisis and Blamont, people like that.
Yeah.
And he runs an 80s thing, and he said, would we please come and play? So it's all about, if this raises our profile to enough of a degree, then we could certainly look to
I think the time is good this time as well, because we're coming into the time when there's the festivals are starting to happen.
Exactly,
so hopefully we'll be able to get on a few of those bills, and as Pat says, if it raises our profile a bit more, then we'll get out there again. But it depends on how well the record does, folks. So get out there in your droves and
exactly, and get it onto the Heritage chart as well. That's where you want to be these days.
Apparently, yeah. So you tell me.
You guys once toured with Fleetwood Mac, didn't you? How rock and roll was that?
Gary can tell you some tales about that too.
Well, you see, the thing about it is it's a bit rock and roll at the start, it's a bit rock and roll at the end, but in the middle bit is, you're going from one place to the other, and you're knackered all the time. You know what I mean?
We were all over Europe with those guys.
Tears for Fears.
We went to America with them.
Wow.
And did we do a British? We did a British tour with them as well.
Did a British tour, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, you did Top of the Pops and iconic shows like that back in the day as well.
We had to. That was actually while we were on the Fleetwood Mac tour. We had to cancel one of the.
Aberdeen, it was.
Edinburgh.
Was it Edinburgh?
Edinburgh,
but they weren't
we
happy
played the
about us leaving
Playhouse.
the tour.
Really? Yeah.
Playhouse in Edinburgh. It was only a second or third gig on the tour, and we had to cancel. We had to fly down to London to do Top of the Pops on the day of the second show at the Edinburgh Playhouse, and so we had to cancel one of the shows for that. You know.
So there we go. But you've got the memories. So you have.
Just about. You know? If you can remember it, we weren't really there, but we must have been. So.
Will you write the book someday?
I don't know. I'm too sad. Not me. Me. No, I don't really. Despite everything, I'm quite self-conscious about these things. You know, about reading about yourself. You know.
Yeah, but you've had an interesting life. You were an actor at one stage as well, weren't you? Didn't you go to RADA?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, I was there at the same time as. You remember? 10-Pole Tutor, you remember that group?
Yes.
Yeah. Edward was Teddy, yeah, he was the same, yeah.
Was he?
Descended from the Tudors, he claimed to be should have been in direct succession to the British monarchy.
Wow.
Edward Tudor Pole, that's his name, yeah. Great guy, really strange guy, but very talented, really, really talented, you know.
So was acting not for you then, is that?
The thing is, I got into the other discipline of music, you know, which I was always into anyway, and once you spent a load of decades doing that, you know, it just, it's all an act, the whole thing is, isn't it? You know, so
Brilliant. Well, as always, good to see you both of you.
Thanks, Rob.
Good luck with the new album, which is out now. So everybody go out and buy this. It is released right now, ladies and gentlemen.
As live as that.
As live as that. So,
hot off the press.
So there we go.
Hot off the printer.
Which means we've come to the end of the show. So we're going to finish off with a big song, and we're going to go into the archives now and play a song from the last time you guys were here, playing live in the studio.
Oh, really?
With that fabulous live version of Broken Land, which has broken my internet, really, because it's the most played music clip on my YouTube channel. So
wonderful.
And people are still commenting about it every day.
Bless
so we'll finish
everyone.
off with The Adventures live with their Broken Land. Go out and buy the new album right now. Terry and Pat, thank you so much for coming in.
Rockin' tune.
And we'll see you back here same time next week. Night night.
So much confusion to this plan.